Stop for a second. Forget everything you've seen in Hollywood movies. If a disaster strikes your town today, you are not going to sprint into the woods with a 50-pound backpack. You aren't going to fight off bad guys with martial arts, and honestly, you shouldn't try. For most of us living in these quiet suburbs in our single-story homes, relying on the grid for our AC, our CPAP machines, and the local pharmacy for our weekly refills, survival looks very different. It's not an action movie. It is a slow, quiet siege. The real danger isn't a zombie apocalypse. It's what happens when the power stays off for 14 days and the temperature inside your home starts to match the freezing winter or scorching summer outside. It's when the water stops flowing and you realize that carrying a standard 5-gallon jug of water requires lifting over 40 pounds of dead weight, a recipe for a slipped disc, not survival. We need to rewrite the rules. We need plans that work when your knees ache, when you can't walk 5 miles, and when your safety depends on staying calm, not moving fast. Today, I'm sharing the top 7 survival plans specifically designed for those who cannot run and cannot carry. We are going to trade muscle for leverage and speed for preparation. Because when the system fades away, your greatest weapon isn't a gun or a knife, it's the wisdom to sit tight and the foresight to be ready. Before we dive into the first plan, I have a question for you. If you had to leave your home in 10 minutes but couldn't carry a backpack, what is the one single item, medical or personal, you would panic about leaving behind? Leave a comment below. Your answer might help someone else rethink their strategy. 1. The safe room strategy. Let's face a hard truth. In a long-term power outage during a winter storm or a heat wave, your spacious 2,000 square foot suburban home is not an asset. It is a liability. Trying to heat or cool that much open space without electricity is a physical impossibility. For a senior citizen, maintaining body temperature is not just about comfort, it is about survival. As we age, our metabolism slows and our body's ability to regulate heat drops significantly. Hypothermia can set in at temperatures as high as 60 degrees Fahrenheit if you are sedentary. So, we are going to stop trying to save the house. We are going to shrink your world. You need to consolidate your entire life into one single room, ideally the master bedroom with an attached bathroom. This is your new microclimate. Close the door and seal the cracks with towels. But here is the detail that changes everything. Pitch a camping tent right on top of your mattress. This sounds strange, but it is pure thermodynamics. The volume of air in a bedroom is too large for your body to heat up. But inside a small tent, your own body heat acts as a furnace. Inside that tent, the temperature can be 15 to 20 degrees warmer than the rest of the freezing house without burning a single log of wood or lighting a dangerous candle. For the windows, forget heavy plywood. Use bubble wrap. By simply spraying water on the glass and sticking bubble wrap to it, you create a trapped layer of dead air that mimics expensive double-pane insulation. It lets light in, but keeps the cold out. By retreating into this safe room, you bring your water, your medicine, and your warmth into a 15-foot radius. You aren't retreating. You are concentrating your resources to where they matter most. 2. The in-situ sanitation plan. We need to discuss the one subject that every Hollywood disaster movie skips, but is actually the #1 killer in a crisis: sanitation. When the power grid fails, the municipal water pumps stop. But for those of us living in the suburbs, there is a much darker threat. Without electricity, the sewage lift stations that push waste away from your home also stop working. If you keep flushing your toilet with buckets of pool water, you aren't just wasting water, you risk causing a toxic backflow of raw sewage right into your own bathroom. For a young, healthy person, the advice is to go outside and dig a latrine. But let's be realistic. If you rely on a walker or have bad knees, you cannot squat in the backyard in the middle of the night. It is unsafe and undignified. You need a solution that works right inside your safe room. You need the twin bucket system. You will take 2 standard 5-gallon buckets. Mark one for liquids and one for solids. This sounds like a minor detail, but it is actually the secret to hygiene management. Here is the chemistry behind it. Urine is heavy and creates ammonia, but it is generally sterile. Feces contain the dangerous bacteria, but they have very low volume. When you mix them, you create a heavy toxic sludge that is impossible to manage. By separating them, you make the problem solvable. You can dump the liquid bucket down a bathtub drain or outside easily because it flows. For the solid bucket, you cover each use with a scoop of kitty litter or sawdust. This desiccates the waste, kills the odor immediately, and stops bacteria from spreading. With a simple pool noodle slit open and placed on the rim for a seat, you have a safe, hygienic toilet that sits right next to your bed. It protects your health without requiring you to take a single dangerous step outside. 3. The micro stockpiling plan. Most survival lists look like a grocery list for a pioneer from the 1800s. They tell you to buy 50-pound bags of dry rice and beans. For a senior in a modern suburb, dry staples are a trap. Here is the thermodynamic reality. To make dry beans edible, you must maintain a rolling boil for over 60 minutes. This consumes gallons of precious potable water and requires massive thermal energy, burning a camping stove indoors for that. Long spikes carbon monoxide levels a gas that binds to your blood's hemoglobin 200 times faster than oxygen, causing silent suffocation. We are switching to a no-cook high-density protocol. We focus on caloric density, the amount of energy packed into a specific weight. Your primary fuel is peanut butter. It is a survival superfood with a density of roughly 5.9 calories per gram. Just 2 tablespoons provide 190 calories and 7 grams of protein. That is enough metabolic fuel to keep your body warm for hours, yet it requires 0 preparation and 0 water to digest. But your tactical weapon is canned fruit in heavy syrup. When you open a can of peaches, do not drain the liquid. That syrup is a hypertonic glucose solution. Solid food takes up to 4 hours to digest. Liquid sugar absorbs into your bloodstream in under 15 minutes. Why does this matter? The aging brain consumes 20% of the body's glucose. In a crisis, stress causes blood sugar to plummet. If your levels drop below 70 mg/dl, you risk confusion, dizziness, and falls. That syrup isn't waste. It is emergency intravenous therapy for your brain without the needle. Slide these supplies under your bed. By keeping a 2,000 calorie per day buffer within arm's reach, you ensure you can stabilize your biochemistry before your feet even touch the floor. 4. The medical autonomy plan. We need to look at your medicine cabinet with the eyes of a logistics expert. The modern pharmacy system operates on a just-in-time supply chain model. This means your local drugstore typically holds less than 72 hours of inventory. If the delivery trucks stop moving due to a fuel crisis or a grid-down scenario, that pharmacy isn't a resource, it is an empty room. For a senior managing hypertension or diabetes, running out of medication isn't uncomfortable. It is a physiological cliff. Sudden withdrawal from beta blockers, for instance, can trigger a rebound effect that spikes blood pressure to stroke-inducing levels within 48 hours. We are going to build a rolling buffer without needing a black market connection. Insurance providers typically allow refills 5 to 7 days before your supply runs out. By consistently refilling at the earliest possible window every single month, you mathematically accumulate a 30-day surplus within 6 months. This is your invisible life insurance. But here is the hardware failure that nobody anticipates. In a disaster, the most critical medical device you own isn't your pacemaker. It is your glasses. If you rely on prescription lenses and you break them in the dark, you suffer from immediate functional blindness. You cannot read the expiration dates on food. You cannot distinguish between a heart pill and a sleeping pill. You cannot see the trip hazard on the floor. I want you to buy 3 pairs of high-strength cheaters. Cheap reading glasses from the dollar store. Place 1 pair in your safe room, 1 in your rolling vest, and 1 in the bathroom. Additionally, stock up on zinc air batteries for hearing aids. These batteries have a unique chemical weakness. Once the tab is pulled, they oxidize and die within weeks whether you use them or not. Do not store them in the device. Keep them sealed. Survival is about capability. If you cannot see your environment or hear a warning, you are not just isolated, you are a casualty waiting to happen. 5. The static gray man plan. In tactical survival, a gray man is someone who disappears into a crowd. But you are at home. So we must adapt this to become a static gray man. Imagine it is day 5 of a blackout. The neighborhood is dead silent. If you have resources, your home is now a target. Your goal isn't to fight, it is to use physics and biology to become invisible. First, we must stop the lighthouse effect. Standard white LED lanterns emit a harsh, high-energy bluish glow. In physics, this type of light scatters through the atmosphere more intensely than any other color. To a neighbor watching from 200 feet away, your small bedroom light doesn't look like a lamp. It glows like a beacon of wealth in a sea of darkness. You need to switch to a deep red light. Here is the biology made simple. Your eyes rely on a delicate chemical coating called rhodopsin to see in the dark. Think of this chemical as your natural night vision fuel. A single flash of white light burns this fuel up instantly, leaving you legally blind in the shadows for 30 to 45 minutes while your eyes struggle to recover. But deep red light is different. It is scientifically invisible to that chemical coating. This allows you to read a tiny expiration date on a medicine bottle clearly, but the moment you look up, you can still see into the dark corners of your room. You maintain your situational awareness, and critically, that low-energy red glow does not cast a visible glare out the window. Second, we must control your olfactory signature or smell. Do not cook. When you heat soup, you create a thermal plume, a rising column of hot air that acts like a vehicle for smells. It carries the scent of food up and out through your vents. In a light breeze, that smell can travel the length of a football field. Eat your food cold, keep your windows covered. In a crisis, the strongest armor isn't a steel door. It is the optical illusion that you have nothing worth taking. 6. The Knox Box Protocol. We have a critical conflict to resolve. Plan 5 requires you to keep your home dark and sealed, like a fortress, to avoid attention. But if you suffer a heart attack or a fall inside that fortress, how do rescuers get in without destroying your door? Furthermore, handing out loose physical keys to neighbors creates a massive security flaw because keys can be lost or copied without your knowledge. We need a system that offers access without sacrificing control. We are going to upgrade to the Knox Box Protocol, a strategy used effectively by fire departments and real estate agents. I want you to buy a heavy-duty realtor's key lockbox. This is a small, hardened steel safe that shackles directly to your front doorknob. You put your spare house key inside this box and lock it with a 4-digit combination code. Now you have absolute control. You do not give your neighbors a key. You give them the code. If a neighbor moves away or loses your trust, you do not have to spend money changing your door locks. You simply walk to the box and change the digits. It takes 10 seconds to reset your security. But how do they know when to use it without violating your camouflage? We replaced the confusing rule about opening blinds with the status card system. Take a small piece of paper the size of a playing card. Color one side green and the other side red. Tape it to the lower corner of your front window so it is small enough that a looter driving by will not notice, but visible to a neighbor walking up the driveway. Your routine is simple. Make it a habit to flip the card to the green side every morning at 8:00 a.m. to signal that you are okay. If your neighbors walk by an hour later and see the red side facing out, or perhaps no card at all, they know the fortress has become a prison. They have the code to enter, save your life, and lock the door behind them. This keeps your home secure and your dignity intact. 7. The 24-hour Head Start Protocol. We have successfully secured your water, your medicine, and your home defenses, but we must acknowledge a hard truth based on traffic engineering. Survival is not just about holding your ground. It is about knowing exactly when to retreat using the laws of flow dynamics. There is a dangerous myth that the captain goes down with the ship, but in a suburban crisis like a rapidly spreading wildfire, this mentality is fatal. Civil engineers design the roads out of your town to handle normal daily volume, which is typically about 2,000 cars per lane per hour. However, studies on mass evacuations show that when panic sets in, the phenomenon known as shockwave braking reduces that capacity by over 70% to fewer than 500 cars per hour. The road does not just slow down, it becomes a parking lot. For a healthy person, walking away is an option. For you, it is not. Here is the mathematical danger. An average car idling in gridlock with the air conditioning running consumes roughly 0.5 to 1 gallon of fuel every single hour. If you are trapped in a 12-hour delay, you could burn through half a tank of gas without moving a single mile, leaving you stranded in a metal cage with no power and rising internal temperatures. To survive, you must adopt the minus 24-hour rule. This protocol demands that you act on the warning, not the final order. If the weather forecast says a hurricane has a 40% probability of hitting in 48 hours, you pack your rolling luggage and leave immediately. You move while the roads are operating at full capacity, and while wheelchair-accessible hotels still have vacancies. You must be willing to feel foolish for leaving early and spending money on a hotel room for a disaster that might never happen. But understand that your perceived foolishness is actually a calculated tactical maneuver. You are buying the one thing money cannot buy once the gridlock starts space and peace. The ultimate survival victory is not fighting the storm. It is sipping hot coffee in a safe town while the storm hits an empty house. Survival requires us to outsmart our limitations. Whether it is hiding water under your bed today or buying a high-decibel whistle tomorrow, these small actions build a fortress around your life. If you found value in these 7 plans, I have one request. Share this information with someone you love who might need a little extra help. And I want to hear from you in the comments. What is the biggest obstacle in your home right now that would make leaving difficult? Is it stairs, a narrow doorway, or something else? Let's brainstorm solutions together below.